Right, thank you for your feedback. Okay, I would like to have an interactive class so that if you have any question, you just have to open your mic and ask me. Okay, don't wait until the end of the session. Okay, you can open your mic and directly ask me. Okay, because you are in the master's levels, I would like to have an interactive section and so on. Okay, in front of it, you say on your screen is recorded scheme of work. Scheme of work is just planning for a lecturers in between the lecturers and the students, what the lecturers want to do throughout the semesters. And the students should be aware of the date in the scheme of work so that you can prepare. You can prepare when will be the assessment, what kind of assessment you have, and so on. So what will be the expectations from the lecturers and what are the things that you have to done, you have to do. So you have to do during the whole lecture or during the course, okay, in order to get a grade and get tasks in the course. Right. So here is actually a scheme of work that I planned. Now we are in week one. Week one we have to finish topic one. Okay, of course I won't go through all the slides because I already put all the notes in future under the course content. You can go in future and download it. Please download in advance. Okay, download the notes in advance. Go through the notes so that you can understand and you can ask questions during the lecture. Because I will going to actually just selecting not all the slides, only selected slides. I'm going to actually conduct it in the online session. So if you have anything else that you want to ask, so you can ask during the session. Right. So week one we are going to cover the software. Week one we are going to cover the topics. Okay, the topic one, that is software engineering notions and concepts. Basically, is the overall process of software engineering. So, just want to actually have an overview of it. Second week and third week, we are concentrating for the first process of software engineering. That is requirement engineering. That is a process that needs us to go through what are the right techniques in order to do the requirement engineering. Okay? So the difference between the degree level, we have software engineering principles and fundamentals. Then we have master's levels of advanced software engineering. The difference between these two levels, in during the degree level, you have to know how to do it. Okay? How to do it in the other way to say it. You have to do some hands-on. Using some tools like Whitestar, UML in order to design something, or you have to really put it into the words or documentations like SRS in order to finish one documentations and so on. It's more on the hands-on. You have to actually submit the SRS for the assignment and so on. But in the requirement engineering for the levels of masters, you have to know the theory behind it. What kind of techniques is most suitable for what kinds of domain, what kinds of requirement engineering process is more effective than others, and so on. So you have to know some theory, and because master level makes you to think of what are the theories, why people using these kinds of methods in order for the requirement engineering. How many requirement engineering are available, and which requirement engineering is suitable in which domain, and so on. So it's more on the theoretical part of it, so that you have to understand the reasoning behind the techniques, the requirement techniques, and so on. So you are going to notice that I put the assessment one here. Yeah, I put the assessment one here. I will go to post the assessment in near future. Yeah, I will go to post the assessment in near future. Basically, in the master's level, assessment needs you to do some reading, and you have to actually analyze and synthesize. Emphasize. You have to analyze and synthesize, meaning that don't simply copy and paste. Any copy and paste, I can check it out in website. Okay, So if you have the standards of copy and paste, meaning that your grade was very low, I would rather the students using the broken English in order to write the things that I want than the only copy and paste without understanding it. So I would like to see analysis and also the synthesis part from the assessment. Okay, assessment 1, assessment 2 is actually only reading and writing a report. It is only reading. I will give you a title, a scope. You have to read it, you have to do some research, and you have to write in 2 pages of report. Okay. From there, I would like to, and now I will go to evaluate whether the students understand it or not. Okay. So that is assessment 1. So week 4 and 5, we concentrate on the software design and architecture. Again, we have basic 4. Okay, we have basic 4 architecture design, and we have generic architecture, the application architecture. So we go through more on the theoretical part. When you have such considerations and so on, what design can you choose? Because you are going to be in a higher level, become a business analyst, becomes a system analyst, and so on. So you have to decide what type of architecture you want to use, what type of model you want to use, and people are going to ask you why you want to use that architecture. Okay? Because you are in a higher level of knowledge. So that's why we are going to learn it. And I have an asterisk on the date of 14th of November because I noticed that 14th of November, Saturday, is a public holiday. Okay, it's a public holiday. So I'm going to actually put some questions in I discuss in your future. Make sure that you respond. Okay, make sure that you respond to the topics. Now we're going to ask the questions. You are going to answer it. Everyone, make sure you reply to it. Ask attendance. Okay. So week 6 and 7 is a software evolution. Concentrate on the software evolution cycles and so on. So we have 2 weeks on it, and I will going to put assessment 2 for this topic. Okay, for this topic. So again, as I mentioned to you earlier, assessment 1, assessment 2 actually require the students to write a report. A very simple report, 2 pages, reporting related to the topic I will going to share with you from time to time. Okay. So we have a semester break. Make sure that if you want to have a holiday with your family, okay, plan it. Okay, for those who are already married and you have a family, I know you have commitment. Okay, so for those who are still single, maybe you have commitment, want to go back to see your parents and so on. Make sure you plan it well. Okay, from the 30th of November until 6th of December, actually we have a mid-semester break. So please plan your holiday ahead. Okay, so we are going to continue with week 8 is agile modeling. Agile modeling is a quite, we can say quite popular software development life cycle that apply right now because most of the software houses want to deliver quickly and want to satisfy the customers' requirements and so on. So one of the methods that you're going to use is agile, developing by using the agile methods and so on. So however, most of the software house in Malaysia still practice reporting hybrid, meaning that instead of using agile, they are attending the customer needs and demands and so on. At the same time, they are forced to produce some documentations, especially for those who involve in the government agency. Government agency development, most of it still want you to provide to them something, some documentations for them to do the maintenance and for them to you have to hand over the documentations when you sign off for a project. So still in a Malaysia context, we still still emphasize so much on the documentation. Okay? Because we have some audit purposes, for the system, okay, and so on. So you're going to notice that in week 9, okay, in week 9, we have a group project briefing. Okay, no lecture on that week. However, I'm going to brief to you what to do with the project. Okay, what to do with the project. Make sure that you block your date. Okay, you block your date for the group project. You have to think out. Okay, from time to time, from week 1 until week 8, try to find some who can be your team. To your team. Okay, you have to think out. I think if we have 20, in the list we have 22. Macam ramai je. Right. We have in 22. So maybe we can have 3 to 4 members. Okay, 3 to 4 members. Try to look for someone that can work together with you. Okay, form out the team. Okay. By week 9, we are going to I will going to brief you about the group project. Okay, so you are going to start with your group project. So you are given nearly 3 weeks time in order to have a very brief mini project. It is a mini project to prove the concept of agile, to prove the concept of the software processes. Okay. Then we continue with our special topic of software security engineering. And lastly, we have software process improvement. Okay, so until now, you might be happy. Wow, ada test. CSC711. Yes, we have tests. We have tests awaiting for you. Okay. So for the group project discussion, I spare a week. Okay, I spare a week for you to discuss your project, and also if you have anything, you can ask me. Okay. So that will be week 12. That will be the finalize of the project. So on with the assessment 3. Assessment 3 is a group project presentation. Okay, I would like to have a live stream presentation. Okay, so group members have to work together closely. So someone will going to have control of the slide, but other members will have to take turns to present. Everyone have to present. So that means you have to make sure that your video is okay and your phone is okay. I won't accept any of the technical issues during the presentation for your project presentations later. Okay, make sure that you overcome your problems before the assessment phase. Okay, I will give the time slot for the students to enter the room, start to present. After finish, you are going to leave the room. Other students are going to come in to the same room and present. That is assessment 3. Okay? That is the assessment 3. Just like you have a project pitching. Okay? Just have a project pitching because you have the same topic. Different group have different solutions. Different group have different ideas and so on. So whoever is going to actually have the most ideal solutions, we're going to get the highest mark. Then we're going to rank it until the lowest mark. So that's why it's more like a project and reading session. So that you can, whoever presented well and the project is good, then we're going to get the highest mark. Then I will going to rank it accordingly and the marks will be given accordingly. Okay, right. So we are going to have our final assessment, that is in week 14. The final assessment is a written test. It's a written test. Okay, I'm going to decide whether we can face to face next year or not, because the date is 23rd of January. It's the 23rd of January. If you can come and we are allowed to have face to face, then we are going to have face to face final assessment. It depends on the situation. But until right now, according to whatever clearing given by UITM, we have to conduct online until the end of this year. At the end of this year, that it will be 21st of December. So this is still subject to change to final assessment. So this is actually the distributions of mark for the assessment. Assessment 1, 20%, assessment 2, 20%, assessment 3 group project is a mini project, 20%, but mostly the final assessment will be 40%. It's a return test. It's a return test. That means you have to write down your answer according to the questions and you have to submit it to me. Okay? So assessment 4 here is a return, and we're going to cover from topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, and topic 4 only. Ada 4 topik saja. Topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, and topic 4. Kita ada 2 topik lagi. Yang 6 topics lah, 6 topics. We have agile and also the software engineering. So we have 6 topics. Okay? 6 topics in the test. 6 topics in the test. Okay, any changes I will going to notify you earlier. Okay? But confirm topic 1 until topic 4 are included. Okay? So this is my number. I think everyone have my number. This is my number. Okay? 013-350-748-6. Okay, any questions so far? I would like to take questions. Anything that you want to clarify with the dates or with the assessment methods or with the assessment mark. Open your mic and ask if you have questions. Ada soalan tak?
No, Doctor.
Okay, thank you Azim. Nazim kan? KIDD tu apa Yang you letak kat logo tu.
That's my nickname.
Masih. Nickname.
Yes.
Kid. Kenapa panggil Kid? Sorry lah, saya Chinese, saya tak tahu.
Actually,
Kenapa nickname Kid?
I was from a boarding school. From Taipei, so the tradition of the school is to give nickname to the students, to the juniors. So the senior gives me the name Kid.
So you are quite famous with the nickname of Kid rather than Nazima.
Yes.
Boarding school. Right. I've been there before, sending one of my adik angkat there. Okay. Alright. Okay, so any other questions? No questions. We're going to continue with our topic today. Last? No question.
No question. You may proceed, Doctor.
No question.
Alright, thank you. Alright, thank you very much. The scheme of word, I already put it in new future under course content. Do you prefer to have a full screen? Because you can see my screen, right?
Yes, Doctor.
You prefer to have this one? Do you prefer to have this one? Yes.
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, this one, Alright. Okay. Right, so please pay your attention, because currently get the Google, our Google email, this allow us to record it. So I didn't record my session. I didn't record my session, my online session. I didn't record it. So please pay your attention during the session because no recorded video. Okay, no recorded video for the lecture. Okay, lecturing session. Right. So our first topic today is actually software engineering notions and concept. Okay, so this is the book that I refer to. Okay, is the software engineering notions, but not all the chapters are taken into considerations in the lecture. So the learning outcome for today, the first parts of the lecture we were going to go through the software development processes and discuss on why it is so important for us right now. And we were going to see about some ethics as a software engineer. Okay, right. So I think someone talked about she is a system engineer. What is the difference, slightly difference between system engineer and software engineer? My Sarah, you are software engineer, you are system engineer. Yeah. What is the difference between system engineering and software engineering?
Focus on developing the system and conduct from the development and maintaining the system. Is it correct?
Right. Anyone else want to help out? Anyone else want to help out? What is the difference between system engineering and software engineering? No one. Okay, all right. Okay, when we talk about system engineering, the system engineering is we call it if you put it in the mathematics. Software engineering is a subset of system engineering. So system engineering you covers about all the hardware engineering, like computer engineering, all the hardware parts of engineering, and it's considered part of the software engineering also. We have system engineering, we have hardware engineering, software engineering, and we have process engineering that involves tools and so on. So system engineering is bigger. The system engineering is bigger. Like my Sarah said, actually, is on the system. Whole system, you have to know how to build it. Again, know how to build it in terms of the consideration, in terms of aspects of hardware, aspect of software, aspects of whole process of it. So we call it system engineering. So software engineering is actually a subset of the system engineering. So meaning that it's focusing more on the software itself, more on the productions of the software. Okay, so right now, software engineering contributes to the income of income or GDP of country. Okay, so in US, it's actually contributing a very huge GDP to United States. Same goes to Malaysia. Okay, because we are developing some products, although it's in-house, most of it is in-house and so on. So that's why software house making money. The software house making money, developing the software for the usage, for internal usage for the agency or external usage for the agency. So whoever graduated as computer science students, if you have the correct skill, that means you're not afraid of programming and so on. Out there are a lot of jobs for the programmers. There's a lot of job for the software development. Okay, for a lot of way for the software development. Okay, right. So software costs actually when we go through the software process, the software costs more on the maintaining. Okay, more on the maintaining. There are so many processes. However, software costs will be actually quite costly during the maintenance. That's why most of the company or most of the government agency, they know that they awarded the private company or any vendor with very high price. And some of the vendor right now is using the technique so-called agile. Okay, can accommodate for the customer change. When the customers want to change it, they will going to accommodate it and so on. However, especially for the government agency, will require the vendor or the private company to have a very so-called documentation is very important because they know that they have to maintain the system. But sadly to say, most of the government agencies will still have to call the vendor to maintain the system. They say that they're going to actually have two phases. One phase will be calling the vendor to develop the system, but the second phase of it will be calling the vendor to maintain the system. If the same vendor getting the tender, yes, anyone want to share? Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Ada orang open mic. Okay, do you agree with me?
Yes, betul. During
Betul
my
kan? Betul kan? Saya cakap betul kan?
I'm one of the
Okay,
team.
you one of the category maintaining. You are one of the maintaining team.
Yes. I need to sit at the
So the headache for the maintenance team, right?
I need to sit at the customer side for during the time to maintain the system for them.
Okay. So you have to actually force to sit with the company or whoever asks you to develop the system. You have to sit with them in order to maintain the system.
Yeah.
All right. So that's actually the horror part here is during the development, different team, a different company getting it. But during the maintenance, another company getting it. That will be very that will really headache because you have to study all the requirements, you have to study all the systems from A to Z before you can maintain it. Okay? At certain level, the stress for the second level, you want to actually review the whole system. Lebih baik saya buat semua lah daripada awal. Okay, that is actually the things that a maintenance team feel. Okay, the maintenance team feel. That's why during the development, make sure that the documentation is correct and you have a very clean, we call it coding. Very clean and understandable coding. That's why command is very important. The naming conversion, tolonglah follow. Okay, jangan bagi nama pelik-pelik. The naming conversion. Okay, jangan terjeput dengan tak letak command. Because that is for the maintaining the easier maintaining purposes. What is the functions go for? What is the procedure? What is the coding? What is the coding? The functionality of that segments of code and so on. Do some very simple. We call it command as very simple documentations to ease the maintenance process. Okay, so basically, software products can be divided into two main types. Okay, so one is a generic product. Generic product is meaning that the software is owned by the software developers. Okay, you cannot change it. It's a generic product like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Office product. So it's a generic product. It's the source code is actually owned by the developers, and you cannot just simply ask for changes. Saya tak suka word ni boleh change. Cannot, because it is not a customized product. It's a generic product. Whatever available in Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint and so on, you have to use it only. You cannot request for changes. The other one is actually we call it customized products. When we call for the customized, we call it customized, meaning that we can customize according to the customer's specific needs. Specific needs. So we can customize the product. Okay, we can customize the product. Okay, of course, when you say customize it, that will be the cost will be really high because you have to build it from the scratch somehow. If you can remove some parts of the codes and so on, that will be easier. But most of the time, when it is not available, you still have to build it. Okay, build it. But most of the software house right now, they are actually giving customized product that is certain domain. Okay, that means if they are actually focusing on the HRMS, the Human Resource Management System, they are going to actually focus on that domain because they already built out the module for the payroll, module for the leave, module for any of the promotions and so on. So that will be the package. Okay? They are going to concentrate on that kinds of management system development. So they can reuse their module in pattern out the customize for the any other company that need it. Okay? Is that correct, Haziq? Are you doing it? Your company?
It is correct.
Okay. So that means they are going to focus. That's why I say, do you have any focus? Some of the company, yes, focus. Why? Because they are going to reuse all the modules in order to customize based on the user. Okay. So it's easier because they already have the components. They already have the software in place. So they just have to customize according to the needs, like changing certain very minor changes on the HRMS. Okay. So what will be the attribute? What will be the quality of a good software? Okay. So good software is a maintainable software. The software can evolve and meet the changes of the customers. So it's a maintainable, okay, good software. So for those who really involved in developing the project, is developing the system for your client, okay, regardless of is a government agencies and so on, make sure that think of maintainability. Of course, maintainability needs more work. Naming convention you kena jaga, kena extra work untuk letak comments and so on. If you are the project manager, make sure that your programmers really follow the good practices. Okay. Saya pernah dapat projek di mana saya punya workers tu adalah software developers freelance graduated students and so on work with me part time. They as a part time. I go through their coding. Saya make sure that dia ada letak komen dan sebagainya. Documentation wise, kena really complete in order for the handover purposes and so on, for the sign off purposes. So that's why maintainability need efforts, need more work. Okay? But it's going to ensure the client. Okay? Dependability, software that you develop should be reliable. Okay? In terms of security, siapa yang buat website dan sebagainya, please make sure that in terms of security, really have to secure the website, especially melibatkan SPRM tadi tu. Okay? Kalau you buat dengan betul-betul SPRM punya website, whatever internal system kena hack dan sebagainya, that will be very dangerous for the agency. So that's why please pay attention to it. Okay? Dependability is very important right now, especially now we are all going for web-based system, web-based application, web-based whatever software product we prefer to have web-based. Okay? That's why in terms of dependability, in terms of security is really important. Okay? Especially sesiapa yang buat e-commerce software. There is e-commerce punya website. Melibatkan payment gateway dan sebagainya. You really have to test it. Okay? That's why the pen testing is needed. The software tester is needed in order to test it and so on. Okay? So another good software criteria is efficiency. In terms of the response, the responsiveness, the process time, the memory utilizations and so on, to make it more efficient, okay? To avoid for any wasteful usage. Okay? So another one, to avoid the last part, whatever you boleh buat maintainability, buat dependability, efficiency, very good performance and so on. But the last and the most important, you have to be accepted by the client. Sesiapa yang jadi vendor dan sebagainya, waktu nak sign off tu, acceptance test tu, kalau sesiapa buat acceptance test berjaya je, wah, rasa macam heaven. Because it's just like the user recognize, and once they recognize, sign off, that means money is coming in. Okay, that's why it's really important. Okay, it is important during the acceptance to sign off, right? So this one, software engineering. So why software engineering so important? As I mentioned to you, is ensure it's a reliable and trustworthy system. We deliver some reliable and trustworthy system. Okay, so and then if you know the principle and fundamentals of software engineering, that will be cheaper if you use some of the methods, okay, some of the tools that you can utilize. Like for example, UML, there are so many tools out there. So you have, if you want to have develop a prototype, there are so many tools out there in order for you to build a prototype to show some basic or conceptual idea to your client. Because some of your client, if the clients were very clear what they want to do, what they want to build, what they want to see, it's okay. Kita sebagai software engineer, kita dapat capture dengan quite easily of as a project manager. However, when you deal with the client, that they don't really know what they want to build, that will be very headache. Okay? That's why dia hanya cakap satu briefing idea je. Saya nak buat satu website yang boleh buat ini. Very abstract statement. So you have to actually really use some techniques in order to get the requirement, the actual requirement. Because when you getting the raw requirement back to your team, you terangkan yang ini dan sebagainya, nanti you punya team belakang buat cara yang sama. So that's why it's really important for us as a frontliner, you can get it correctly, especially who is dealing with the client. Okay, so and then another one is most important in the current market right now is a change request. That's why most of if you have experience of doing some project, asking for posting, so you have to actually include the change request costing. Okay? If you say your company allow or accommodate for the change request, make sure that you charge for it. Okay? Otherwise, once project, boleh kata tiap-tiap kali jumpa dengan klien mesti ada tukar. Oh, ini tak boleh, itu tak boleh, ini lebih baik macam ni, itu lebih baik macam ni. Sampai one time kita rasa macam, ya Allah, last jumpa cakap lain, this time jumpa cakap lain. Okay? Yang pekerja tu rasanya dia understand lah apa maksud saya kot. Okay? So we have change request. So, say for those who still don't have any experience of working, I can maybe you can imagine during the time that you do your final year project. During the final year project, who are your client? Your lecturers, especially your supervisor, is a client. Okay? Minggu ni jumpa supervisor, dia suruh buat ni. Minggu depan jumpa supervisor, baru minggu depan jumpa supervisor. Ada supervisor dia cakap lain. Yang lagi horror adalah selepas you dah nearly siap, dia suruh you tambah lagi. Is that correct? Then that is what happens to the students during the final year project. Okay? Right? So, the software process activity, this is actually basic form. Basic form process, regardless of what kind of software software products you want to develop. Okay, regardless whether you have a mobile application development or you can actually use it for the web base, or actually you can use it for any standalone system and so on. So this is actually the basic four process. Number one, you should get the requirement for the software specification. Okay, so you deal with the clients, and you have to clarify what type of specifications that want to build for that software. Okay, if you get it the correct requirement, then the rest of it will be correct. Otherwise, you have to redo. Okay, that will only cost to involve extra cost for you. Okay, so after you gather the requirement, next you have to start the development. Okay, development, coding dan sebagainya, buat design dan sebagainya. Okay, so you are going to see what is the design part. Actually, design will be in the specification. It's an interleave, we call it interleave. Kita tak boleh nak kena bezakan sangat. Because some of the software specifications, you have to actually already come up with the architecture. You already come up with a use case diagram in order for the user to understand it clearly. From the use case diagram, you draw for the sequence diagrams and so on. So this is actually correlated. Okay, correlated. And during that moment, you have to clarify with the client. Is that going to be what they want to do and so on. Okay, before you proceed to the development. Okay, just like you are building a house, you have to actually have a very clear blueprint. Okay, kena tahu dah rumah ni berapa bilik ada, okay, toilet kat mana, bilik tamu kat mana, dapur kat mana, bentuk yang macam mana, berapa tingkat ada, berapa pintu ada, sliding door ke, pintu apa ke, semua kena tahu. That will be the specification. Once you confirm the specification, baru you hantar kepada contractor. In our case, we were going to actually send it to the development team. There are programmers there, and they will to actually look for us. They can start building the software, start building the house, teknologi dia. So once start building, bila nak dekat siap dan sebagainya, then kita akan ajak untuk client datang. Validate. Okay, validate and dan sebagainya. Validation. Check ikut requirement lah. So that will be validation. Once validation, you hand over to your client. We call it sign off, formal sign off. Client kata yes, acceptance. Of course, during the validation, you have to do basically in-house testing dulu. You have testing, then you can actually have, we call it alpha testing kalau melibatkan mobile, melibatkan website. We can alpha testing, we have beta testing before you go live. Okay, before you go live. So after you hand over to your client akan mula bahagian yang software evolution. Okay, that's why sometimes vendor are being called in order to maintain the system. Okay, sometimes it's already embedded in the costing. You can maintain system ni setahun. Okay, that's why some of you have to sit at the client side and maintain the system dan sebagainya. Sebabkan dalam perjanjian tu tak ada. It's already paid. Jadi sekarang ni government agency pun pandai dah. Dulu siap sampai sign off the same. So sekarang ni dah pandai. Dia letak setahun ataupun 2 tahun untuk maintenance. Biasa setahun lah dia untuk maintenance. Maintenance, somehow, some of it will be a knowledge transfer. Okay, that means when you are sitting in your client side, you have to transfer the knowledge to the in-house team so that they can maintain the system later on. Okay, so this is what happens for the 4 basic process. Okay, questions? Any questions?
No.
Right, okay. I hope you understand that. If you have any questions, just open your mic. If you have any questions, just open your mic. Because on my screen, it's only my slide. I cannot see you. Siapa buka mic ke apa, I cannot see you. So if on my screen, it's actually only my slide. Okay, general issue, regardless of what kind of software you are developing. So we have 3 general issues. Number 1 in the current scenario, we deal with heterogeneity. What is calling heterogeneity? Because most of us develop right now actually is a distributed system. That means one system is a client server system can be accessed. This can be accessed in anywhere, anytime. So, okay? And when you can, if it's actually is a distributed system, you have to deal with a lot different types of computer, different types of mobile devices and so on. So in that kind of scenario, that will be the issue in the heterogeneity. Okay? Sometimes because of the browser, okay, because of the browser, let's say you are comfortable by using Google Chrome. Tapi sekarang ada Microsoft Edge baru keluar di mana apabila macam tu ada yang banyak website dah boleh buka menggunakan Microsoft Edge dan sebagainya. So that is the things that actually encounter is a general issue. Most of the software. Okay? Most of the software. Zaman dulu lagi lah. Ada yang IE je boleh buka. Dia specified kat situ only compatible for IE. So, dia boleh buka gunakan IE je. Browser. Sebagai browser sebagainya. Yang lain tak boleh. So, that is actually the issue dealing with heterogeneity. The difference or diversity of different types of the devices and so on. So second issue here is changing on the business and social. So business change, then society change so fast. So some of the software will take time in order to develop it. By the time you want to deploy or by the time you want to deliver the system, business already changed. Some issues and some bigger issues during last time is actually the GST and SST. Some of the company getting the requirement before GST. So bermaksud dia buat sistem tu mengikut SST. Once they deliver the system, master dia dah hantar sistem government cuba tiba-tiba kata, yes, kita guna GST. Maka semua kena pakai balik, tak nak terima, you kena betulkan untuk cara government dan sebagainya. Masa tu memang software developer headache. Terpaksa kena gunakan GST. So, ada yang lagi dahsyat adalah tengah buat untuk GST, tiba-tiba tukar balik kepada SST. So that is actually the changes. Okay, the changes that we have to accommodate. Okay, these are the issues. Okay, these are the issues. And somehow the company merging. Okay, company merging. Okay, company merging or department merging and so on. So you want to develop something, tiba-tiba the merging. So you have to actually change it. Okay. So lastly, because of the distributed system, we deal with the security and trust. Okay. So allow the user to log in, allow the users to actually have a session. That's why you can have what? Session management. So do you understand what is session management? Boleh tahu ke? We have to organize a session management. So because we have to ask the system that kalau tak ada activity in a certain period of time, automatically log off and so on. So that would be the session management. Or when you have back, okay, tekan back, dia dah tak boleh. So itu adalah session management yang betul. So meaning that you have to test and you have to really have a session management, especially involve some login and log out. Okay, so that is a security issue and trust issue. Okay. So software diversity here, there's actually I can say that if you ask me which techniques is the most reliable, is most reliable, is the most trusted in order to develop software, I cannot answer you. Okay? Because software actually, so in a software engineering concept, we don't have any universal set of software techniques. I cannot say that, okay, Agile method right now is the best method. I cannot say it. Why? Because a child, you have to understand, a child is more concentrate on the process. Okay, it's more concentrating on the people. It's more concentrating. It's not concentrating on the documentation. So a child is only suitable for developing some rhetoric, some small and medium size of system. When you deal with a sub-complex system, like for example aircraft system, you are going to use it for 10 and 20 years and so on. So of course a child is not suitable because you want to maintain and use the system for a long time. When you want to use it for a long time, that means you have to maintain it for a long time. For that kind of system, plan-driven or documentation is very important. Then for the maintenance team to go through in order to maintain the whole system, the complex system or legacy system. So that's why there is no universal set of software techniques in order to develop a specific software. Okay. So in terms of application types, we have several examples here. Number one, standalone, meaning that if you open it directly, you can run it without any internet, then you can run it and so on. So it's a standalone system. Okay. You can build it by using any of the software or programming language that you know. Okay. As long as you share it, so it can be run or can be executed file and executed. Okay, that is standalone system. We can have interactive transaction-based system. This type of system actually, for example, is an e-commerce system. Okay, involves some transaction. So meaning that involves some input, involves some processes, and you are getting some output. Involving some payment gateway, you pair it, process it, and you print out the receipt and so on. So that is the transaction-based system. Okay, like for example, now we have a lot. I think most of you like me. Okay, waiting for a special date 9, 9, 10, 10. Next will be 11, 11. So it's a shopping online. So it's a transaction-based software application. So we have embedded. Any idea about embedded?
No.
What is embedded? Come across the embedded. Tak tahu. Right. Contohlah sekarang ni embedded. Banyak ke mana kat kereta? It's an embedded system. Okay. Kereta sekarang zaman dulu punya kereta simple je. Semua gunakan butang yang pusing-pusing. Yang ni adalah semua dan then it is a program. Okay, we call it embedded. This is actually examples of embedded system. Embedded system in vehicles, embedded system in microwave. Okay, it's a smart cooking system and so on. So that is embedded. That kinds of embedded applications. Untuk batch processing, we pakai telecommunications, billing system, your credit card billing system, and so on. Or your salary. Okay, at the end of the month, your treasury, your kerja hari, going to actually push a button. Tau, dia keluar you punya pay slip dan sebagainya. Itu adalah batch processing. Simulation modeling. So we have simulator for the car simulator. Whoever want to have maybe have experience of driving aircraft, okay, we have a simulator and so on. Okay, simulator. So contoh macam dulu ada kita ada case Boeing di mana crash dan sebagainya. Dia dapat balik simulator pilot tu. Dia ada simulator di mana dia simulator ada kat rumah dia dan dia ada landing kat Selamatan contoh. Itu adalah simulator pilot simulator. So angkasawan ada simulator and so on. Okay, this is simulations. Okay, and entertainment right now YouTube, okay, Netflix dan sebagainya. That is actually entertainment. So data collections, we have some kinds of applications we are collecting some data. Okay, collecting data. For example, forecasting. Okay, forecasting system, weather forecasting system. Dia akan collections all the data from the weather station. Okay, contoh Malaysia, dia akan forecast. Okay, besok adalah apa dan sebagainya. Hujan ke kawasan mana, kawasan mana. How they know? Because they have a system for the data collection. Collecting from all the weather stations. Right. Hantar melalui itu kepada center. Center have to do some analysis and come up with the forecasting. So for example, that is actually weather forecasting is a type of examples of the data collection. And we have system of system. That means dalam sistem ada sistem. Contohnya enterprise system. In an enterprise system, we have smaller system. Ada attendance system, ada HRMS, ada lain dan sebagainya. Contoh dalam ITM punya system. Dalam ITM punya system, dia ada students punya student portal, ada staff portal, ada system SIMS, ada sistem lain. Kita pun ada HR to you dan sebagainya. So that is system of system. Biasa kita merujuk kepada enterprise system. Okay, any questions?
Doctor, what about Untitled e-wallet? Is it an embedded system or a best system?
Touch and go. Touch and go, you said touch and go?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. Kalau katakan touch and go adalah touch and go yang jalan raya tu kan? Yang
The e-wallet. Is it an embedded or a best system?
e-wallet kan? Bagi saya adalah interactive transaction based. Because melibatkan transaction. Kalau embedded ni adalah dia more on contoh vehicles. Katakan more on the vehicles. Okay, vehicles, dia dah install kat vehicle tersebut and then dia tak ada connection kat luar tu. Maksud dia hanya embedded. Contoh saya punya cleaning robot. Okay, saya dah set pukul berapa dia kena sapu lantai dan sebagainya. Dia tak ada connection dengan yang luar. Jadi kepada e-wallet, ini adalah satu soalan yang bagus. Saya boleh masukkan dalam test nanti. Okay. So bermasuk e-wallet, kind of system dia melibatkan transaction. Okay, dia melibatkan transaction. Bermaksud you install dalam tu somewhere dekat some tempat lain tu. Dia kena adalah keep your balance and so on. Dia bukan dalam dia punya handphone saja dan sebagainya. So bermaksud kalau you nak check you guna kat tempat ni dan sebagainya, dia akan deduct. It's a type of interactive transaction based. Sometimes you kena bagi permission. Contoh lah, katakan ada yang gunakan wave. Okay, ada yang guna wave, ada yang guna ping dan sebagainya. So that is actually interactive transaction. Very good. Okay, give me some idea. Any other questions? Good. Other questions? Ada lagi tak? Ada yang nak tanya tak? Better jangan tanya kan. Nanti Dr. Atika banyak dapat idea untuk test kan. Nanti dapat banyak idea untuk test kan. Very good.
What about data collection? Any examples of data collection?
Data collection, like as I mentioned to you, data collection, like for example, adalah untuk weather forecasting system. Dia adalah sort of data collections. Okay. Let's say satu lagi adalah kita UITM ada buat satu data collections untuk COVID. Kalau you pergi website yang ada kan, dia akan collecting the data. Dia data collections. Maksud dia buat scraper tau. Buat scraper untuk dapatkan collections of data. Then after that, we're going to start processing and come up with the result.
Macam buat mapping.
So that will be the data collections.
Okay.
Dia adalah collecting the data lah. Collecting the data.
Okay.
Dia jenis yang memang kepada data collection. Melibatkan scraping dan sebagainya. Data collection. Right? Right. So the fundamentals of the software engineering. So what is the fundamentals of software engineering? That means we must follow certain development process. Okay, that is fundamental. Macam mana tu you akan follow certain development process in order to develop software. Okay, so no matter what side of software you want to build, you're still emphasizing the reliability of the software, the secure of the software, the performance of the software, the efficiency of the software. Okay, the third one is actually you have to really understand the specification and requirement. None of the software can be built without understanding specification. No. Okay, any software developers, macam mana dia pandai pun, macam mana dia experience pun, need to go through. That is fundamental. You have to understand the software specifications and requirements first before you build. Another one is actually right now is reuse. Whatever possible, whenever possible, you have to reuse. Okay? For example, final year project. Sebelum you build the project, what you want to do? You mesti search for the open source coding. Cari dulu coding ada tak dan sebagainya. Is that true? 100% true. Okay? So student akan cari coding dulu. So that means we use the software if possible. So is there anything wrong? Nothing wrong. However, you have to do the modification. Okay? Kalau dia adalah jenis yang really is belongs to someone actually, give credits to that company, give credits to that programmers and so on. Okay, right. So software engineering and the web. Okay, software engineering actually started very long time ago. However, web is actually compared to software engineering, web still considered junior. Okay, because coming quite late. Okay, quite late in studies and so on. So when the web actually started with the word of internet, kita mula dengan internet dan sebelum pergi ke cloud dan sebagainya, kita mula dengan internet. Okay, World Wide Web, www dan sebagainya kan. So actually the creations of web really influence software engineering. Why? Because before web coming in, most of the system actually is standalone. Standalone meaning that what? Meaning that you have to install. Okay, I don't know whether you still you have experience of install by using floppy disk, install of using CD. Saya tak tahulah sementara ada tak you ada experience of it. Ataupun ada yang tak pernah tengok floppy disk pun ada kot. Okay. Siapa pernah tengok floppy disk? Dapat bayangkan floppy disk tu apa tak? Generasi muda ni tak tahu floppy disk apa. Dia kena pergi Google. So saya experience saya dulu adalah pernah install satu software gunakan 18 keping floppy disk. Siap floppy disk tu level number 1, number 2, number 3 sampai 18. Letak number 1 dulu. Lepas tu number 2, insert number 3 dan sebagainya. So, sesiapa yang tak tahu floppy disk, mungkin pergi Google kejap lah. Floppy disk tu apa? Okay, floppy disk. Warna hitam. Okay, warna hitam. So, keping yang segi 4 tu. Okay, floppy disk. So, lepas tu kita ada CD, okay, untuk install dan sebagainya. CD pun banyak version. Ada release CD, ada CDR, CD, RW dan sebagainya. So, kemudian sekarang ni adalah cloud. More kepada cloud. Anything cloud. So you all want to install something cloud. Microsoft Office pun cloud dan sebagainya. So no longer we are actually anything cloud. So that means the software developers actually can control the license. They have license key. Okay, but most of our computer science students naklah dia pergi ambil yang crack dia dan sebagainya. Okay, they find a way in order to open the software. Okay, illegal. Okay, kesian orang yang develop. Okay, so cloud computing. So now we are going to actually for cloud computing. Okay, everything is a cloud service. Okay, we call for the cloud services. Okay, so when we have cloud, meaning that you store the things in a server. Okay, in a server, and it's actually is a cloud base. You have to code it and install it in your computer Office and you are going to use it. Sekarang Microsoft Office, dia ada Microsoft Office 365 itu sama. Okay? Dan dia akan detect. Okay? Once you log in dan sebagainya, dia akan detect. When you license habis dia akan notify. Okay? So, for the web software engineering, so it's emphasizing on the software we use when constructing for the web base. And there is a lot of framework. Okay? Web-based framework. Tapi siapa tadi buat web-based, dia gunakan framework apa-apa tak? Siapa buat web-based tadi?
Guna Dr.
You guna framework apa? You gunakan framework apa?
Laravel, PHP, Symfony.
Laravel. Okay, Symfony. Okay, first time saya dengar Symfony. Laravel biasa dengar. Alright. So, that's why kebanyakan gunakan Laravel. Kalau gunakan apa tadi gunakan saya daripada Laravel apa lagi ya? Saya rasa banyak lagi.
Symfony.
Ada contoh? Macam mana?
ASP.NET.
Okay. ASP.NET. Okay, ASP.NET. Betul. Okay, lagi? Ada yang lagi tak? ASP.NET. Okay. So there is actually a lot of framework out there that you can use, and you can actually call and use by calling the library, okay, by using the component dah siap dia hanya drag and drop boleh guna dan sebagainya. So web-based system should be developed and delivered incrementally, so you can actually put it incrementally and build it, show it to your clients and so on. Okay. So, however, some of the user interface are constrained by the capability of the browser. As I mentioned dulu, ada yang boleh compatible untuk certain browser, ada yang tak boleh. Right. Okay. So, this is actually another one is about ethics. About ethics. When we have software engineer, we come across certain issues like confidentiality issue. Okay, confidentiality issue meaning that as a software engineer, as a person who develop and person who actually have access, we call it access of the individual profile, individual data and so on. Make sure you keep the confidentiality of the employers and also the clients. Okay, also at the clients. So, like for example, you know that when you are given the opportunity in order to develop this very new product. Okay, your client call you. Your client adalah domain knowledge. Okay, domain knowledge. Dia kata dia beritahu dia come up with formula, boleh automatic calculate berapa miligram drugs and berapa kali patient nak makan, nak minum for a day dan sebagainya supaya sembuh dengan lebih cepat. So they come up with a formula, come up with a calculation and so on. So we are the software engineering people, software engineer. So we know that is actually the priceless punya items. Formula is kita tak boleh simply kata copy that formula, dapat that formula, kita jual dengan orang lain untuk kita dia. Itu salah. Okay? We have to keep the confidentiality of our client. Okay? And you know that will be actually, that's why most of the company want us to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Non-disclosure agreement, NDA. Kita namakan non-disclosure agreement. Itu adalah menjadikan kita declare lah, kita tak akan bocorkan rahsia-rahsia dia. So, melibatkan certain sensitive aspect like medical, like farmasi dan sebagainya, dia memang force kita untuk sign. So saya tak tahu sama ada you ada experience tak untuk sign agreement macam tu. So masa saya develop memang kena sign. Okay. Kita namakan NDA. Okay. Non-disclosure agreement. Okay. That we have to sign for the confidentiality of our clients. As a software engineer also, we have to actually competence. Make sure that you know what to do, what to decide, which one is the factor for our clients as well. Client put on trust with us. Okay? Dia percaya, dia kata, okay, saya nak buat satu sistem yang berkaitan dengan, contohlah zakat. Zakat Penang tu tahu, oh, saya nak buat sistem yang boleh untuk orang boleh bayar zakat and saya boleh collection zakat dan sebagainya. Dia hanya very abstract. So we have to competent in the study. Make sure you study. Study apa zakat macam mana, proses zakat ni macam mana, calculation zakat macam mana dan sebagainya. So apa do and don'ts and so on into sejarah zakat and so on. You have to study it because that will be showing the competence of it. Okay? Of course you say, I'm only developer. Zakat orang, zakat bagi saya apa, saya buat apalah. As a competence of a software engineer, you have to really study it. Don't really depends on your client. Apa yang you nak build, you can really understand it so that you can build the better software. Okay, better software. Right, and then another one is IP lah. Macam saya tadi kata tu IP issues, melibatkan copyright, melibatkan patents and so on. Make sure that as a software engineer, we have to know the responsibility to keep the IP rights for the client. Although you already, yang ni pernah berlaku kat Touch and Go. Dia pernah berlaku kat Touch and Go, dia punya software engineer dulu. Okay. Dia ambil keluar IP tu, ambil keluar, bermaksud dia tahu adalah tu, and then dia misuse of it. Okay. Misuse of it for other purposes. Touch and Go. Tapi orang tu dah kena tangkap, kena sue. Okay. Actually dia millionaire. Masa dia tangkap tu dia already is a millionaire. Okay. So computer misuse pun sama. Computer misuse. So that means we are going to actually know that software engineers should not use their technical skill to misuse other people's computers. Okay, misuse of other people's computers and so on. Okay. Right, ethical dilemmas. Yang ni adalah somehow when you deal with something, like for example, tadi ada orang yang pen testing. So actually ikutkan test cases is a lot. Kalau nak buat test cases tu, you want to test software thoroughly. You have a lot of strategy and you have a lot of tests. Okay, but somehow in some point your company say that test sikit-sikit sudahlah. Ataupun test, asalkan test je sudah. So this is actually a dilemma for a software engineer. Okay, we want to obey to our senior management order, or we have to actually tie with our ethical. So we have to, otherwise we have to release something that is not actually safe to the client and so on. So this is some ethical dilemma. Okay, ethical dilemma. Right. So okay, I think we break for a while. We break around 5 minutes. Two people, some money. We break for a while. 5 minutes, take break. Take a break, 5 minutes.
Okay, okay.
Of the code. Let's say, if else, a very simple example. If else. Kemungkinan dia akan gunakan if jalan juga. Gunakan if else jalan juga. But which one is better? Sometimes if else is better. Because once the condition is true, the other one can be skipped and so on. No need for the system to check everything. They akan affect the performance of the system and so on. These kinds of things we call it refactoring. Okay, refactoring. All right. The last one here is a reuse-oriented software engineering. Reuse-oriented, meaning that we have a component. Okay, we have a component, especially with the web-based design. Okay, some of the clients say, okay, I need 8. So sekarang ni kita dah buat coding dah. And we didn't put it from the scratch, calendar dan sebagainya. We only code for components. Okay, and then kalau katakan nak buat feedback form and so on, we didn't build it from the scratch. We can code for the feedback form and so on. So dia dah ada enough component. So meaning that in the reuse-oriented software engineering, somehow we have to actually analyze the component. When the component is not available, meaning that we have to give and take. Kena ada requirement, very special one, requirement modifications. Kita modify sikit requirement kita. However, you have to get your client knows about it. Okay? Maybe dia kata, oh saya nak jenis kalender macam ni. Tapi dalam komponen ni tak ada kalender macam ni. Kita feedback kepada client. Katakan apa yang komponen yang saya ada gunakan dalam dan sebagainya. Komponen ni tak ada tak. You design yang you nak tu tak ada. Maybe that is the actually requirements modifications. Okay, that we have to somehow sacrifice your requirements. Okay, so this is actually the reuse-oriented software engineering, mostly for the commercial off-the-shelf system. Okay, commercial off-the-shelf system. Like for example, tadi Haziq talk about HRMS. Okay, dia kata company dia adalah banyak deal dengan HRMS system and so on. It's a human resource management system. So it's a selling cost system. It's a commercial off-the-shelf system. Okay, company A datang, dia kata saya nak buat satu human resource management system. Maka company Haziq tu maybe dia kena customize to a certain thing. However, komponen-komponen yang dia dah buat tu, klien kena sacrifice dia punya requirement. Dia tak boleh kata specifically nak sesuatu sistem dan sebagainya. Maybe dia dah fix. Ini adalah package yang dia kena offer dan sebagainya. So that is actually the constraint of the reuse-oriented. Okay, so again, the process activity, we're going to bypass this one. Okay, the first activity we have software specifications. That will be a topic number 2 later. So we are going to very actually detailed about the requirement engineering process in topic 2 later. Okay. So and then the phase 2 in the software process activity, we have software design and implementations. That will be in the topic 3. Okay, in this semesters. Okay. So this is a generic model of design. So we have a design here. So this is a sample. We are going through a lot of design model later, right? So for the design activities, basically you have to design the architecture. It's an overall structure of the system. Why it is very important for you to clearly identify what were the important components inside the system that you want to build. And the client will going to see what will be the relationship between the components with the components and what kind of basically how the system communicates between the components. And that is the architectural design. It's going to help you to explain to your client. Another one is very important is interface design. Okay, interface design. So you have to spell out what kind of interface that you have. Is that in the checkbox buttons? Is that in the option buttons? Is that in the drop down menu dan sebagainya? Itu adalah interface design. Okay, some of the client is very fussy about the user interface. Okay, very fussy and concerned about user interface. For us as a software developers, kita rasa ini make up kemudian. But some of the client really want to emphasize on the user interface yang cantik. User interface, dia spend a lot of time in user interface saja. Okay, so whoever yang involved dalam software development, pernah deal dengan client, might understand what I say. Okay, so some of the client really fussy about user interface. So we have component, if you involve a component design, we have to identify what are the components and what will be the component design that you want to actually deliver to your client. And another one is database design. Okay, most of us have store the data. When you store the data, you should emphasize on the database design. Has a proper ERD and so on, have a proper data structure and so on. That's why during your degree here, you have computer science, you are forced to check out data structure. Okay, data structure. Kenapa penting? Because when you have a good data structure, okay, idea and so on, if you organize your data structure well, you have no problems with the database design as well. Okay, so you have a more presentable data structure. Okay, these are some ideas of the design. Okay, so kat sini tadi tak cakap tu adalah algorithm design. The algorithm design can be in flowchart, can be in pseudocode. This one is pseudocode. Okay, it's a pseudocode. Still understand what is pseudocode? Still remember? Pseudocode. Yang ada kat screen tu adalah pseudocode. Pseudocode. Maksud kita ambil pseudocode tak semestinya dalam sinteks betul, tak semestinya. Tapi flow dia kena betul. Supaya sampai ke programmer dia tahu macam mana nak program. Okay, dia tak perlu sinteks yang betul, but the flow of it, process of it, the logic of it should be correct. Okay, should be correct. That is actually the pseudocode. Okay. So, and then we have validation. We call it BMV, verifications and validation. In order to confirm whether we are complies to the specification of user requirements or not. Okay, for us to check and review. Okay, this is another topic. Okay, that is a topic, if I'm not mistaken, this is topic 4. Okay, topic 4. Topic 3 or topic 4. Okay, so when we talk about validation, most of it will be testing. And most of it will be emphasized on testing. So we have component testing, we have system testing before we go for acceptance testing. Okay? So this is basic about testing. We are going to actually go through very details about testing later. So this is overall testing. We call it development testing or component testing. So if you involve individual components, you have to test it independently. So all the components you put together, you have to test it. Okay, so we call it development testing. Okay, so we have system testing. Some of the system testing before the internal auditors will come and test it, review team, in order to test it before you release it to your client. Okay, so when you pass all the system testing, that's why tadi tu ada tester. Dia faham lah bahagian, dia lebih faham bahagian. Sebabkan dia kena go through all the process yang ada. Okay, dia akan buatkan testing. Okay, penetration testing move kepada network. So ini adalah whole system testing. Okay, so before go to the acceptance test. The acceptance test, when you call acceptance test, is involve customers. Okay, involve customers to come to accept what you want to deliver. Okay, this is the testing phase. And lastly, last process for the software process is a evolution. Okay, evolution. Okay, so when we call evolutions, meaning that we're going to actually have some. We cannot avoid for changes. We cannot avoid for changes. In order to make the software still remain relevant, we actually have software have to evolve. This software have to evolve, have to be changed in order to stay relevant to the current scenario and so on. That's why software evolution is another important space that we have to look at, and we're going to have another separated topic for it. Okay, so change actually is inevitable in all the large software projects because business change, because of the new technology keep on coming in, and because of the changing platform, new browser in and so on. So we have to accommodate to change. Okay? So change cannot be avoided. Okay? Change cannot be avoided. So when we have change, meaning that we have to do some modifications on the coding and so on. It needs you to rework and it involves some cost, involves some people and so on. So that's why when you develop a system, please have to bear in mind include the change request costing. Okay, change request costing. In order to reduce the cost of the rework, okay, we can have two approaches. Number one is the change avoidance. Number two is the change tolerance. Okay, is the change tolerance. What is the difference between these two? Okay, what is the difference? Change avoidance, where the software process include activity that can anticipate possible changes before significant rework is required. We want to avoid change. How we can achieve it? We can use using the prototype method, meaning that people have a prototype approach to the client to see that in order for us to avoid the change at the end of it. Okay, so this kinds of approach is using a prototype. Okay, using a prototype, showing pictures to the client, let them have a feel of what the system is supposed to be and so on. We will need to avoid the change request. So another one we call it change tolerance. Okay? Change tolerance is involved incremental development. That's why the process is designed so that the changes can be accommodated to a very low cost. Okay? So we can use the approach of incremental development. Okay? We separate it into modules, we separate it into partitions, and we are going to build it according to your priority. Once you build it, you show it to your client. Okay, this is what I already built. Okay, this is what I already built. Let this user just have an experience of it, agree on it before you go for the next development phases. Okay, so it's directly actually you involve your client in the development. Okay, in the development. So some of the time we are going to use the client, we invite the client to come over to sit at development site. Anything we verify with the client will directly say presenting the company. They say yes, this is actually correct. We can proceed with the next. So this is two approaches. So that's why we talk about number one, software prototype. When we have software prototype, it helps us to verify the requirement. During the requirement elicitation and validation, it's going to help out. As I mentioned to you, the first prototype. Sekarang ni dah banyak prototype tools. Banyak prototype tools yang boleh guna secara free. Download the free, so whatever getting the needs of the client, you scratch it by using the prototype tool. It's a dummy prototype that allows you to have a basic link to another page, another user interface, and so on. Okay, make sure that using that kinds of tools, let the users have the experience of that prototype. Walaupun adalah dummy, tapi dia tahu klik dia pergi face mana, klik dia pergi proses mana, klik dia pergi proses mana dan sebagainya. So if you have that prototype, I can going to say that you are going to certify your client. There are high possibility. Okay, the client have the feel of how the prototype representing the actual system. Okay, to look at it. So benefit of the prototyping improve the visibility of the system, cross-matching to your client needs, and improve the design quality. Why design quality? As I mentioned to you, some of the client really emphasize on the UI. Okay, saya pernah jumpa satu klien saya headache tu. Color dia tu concern. Cakap, oh saya nak top point. Kalau top point sebanyak color, range of color. Have to give him the range of color, let him choose the color. Choice yang dia nak. So that's why some of the clients they have to actually accommodate the kinds of requirement. Bagi kita jadi macam practical people. We want to see the system to be in place first. We want to emphasize on the functionality first, rather the arrangements of the button, rather than the design, the colors, and so on. But some of the clients really emphasize on it, especially when you deal with artists. Okay, remember dulu kan cantik je paling penting. Cantik tu. So yang lain boleh you kena practice sendiri. Okay, so the benefit of prototype is going to help out with it, and it's going to improve the maintainability. Okay, and also the paling penting reduce the development effort. You need to review it at the end of the system delivery. Okay. So you can actually use some tools in order to do it. So we call it throw-away prototype, meaning that this is actually incomplete prototype. It is an incomplete prototype. That's why we call it throw-away prototype. We didn't use it. And we didn't document that prototype. First prototype, second prototype, we didn't document it. We only use it in order to have a requirement elicitation dengan validation saja. So meaning the prototype is used in order to capture the correct and right requirement for the client, control the requirement for the clients. Okay, so another way is actually using the development of incremental. Yang saya kata incremental. So incremental we have two terms. One is incremental development, the other one is incremental delivery. We have two terms. So when we have two terms, you have to know the difference between two. One is incremental development. You put it into modules and so on. You develop it part by part. And it's a normal approach in the agile. You do it, you validate it, you process, you implement. It's totally different from the incremental delivery. When incremental delivery, you're going to deploy it. You siapkan betul-betul satu tempat tu. Contohlah adalah you buat HRMS adalah payroll. You siapkan payroll. So, and then you push it, deploy it. End user yang akan buat. End user akan payroll, dia akan test dan sebagainya. Dia akan kena betul. Sementara you buat another part lagi. Let's say adalah apply for leave. Another one, apply for leave module. Once apply for leave module ada, you deploy it in the website. Dan orang dalam department dan sebagainya untuk apply leave dan sebagainya. So that one is we call incremental delivery. Okay, two different terms. So in the incremental delivery, that means you have to actually outline the requirement and then assign it to implement, design the system architecture, develop this implement, so validate it, integrate it in the current system, validate the system, and deploy it.
Deployment,
And then you are going to actually go through again until you finish everything and have a final system. You have a final system. So that's why this is actually we call it incremental delivery. Kita deliver modules by modules or partition by partitions. Okay. So and the end user is going to use it. And it's important for you to have an integration test. Ini memang integration test. Sebabkan you deliver different parts and you have to integrate testing to everything, whether the system can be integrated. So the benefit of the incremental delivery is actually the customers have the feel of the most important functions first. It's going to actually lower the risk because the most important service is going to test and test over and over again. So the highest priority of that system, of that service, is going to have the most testing. That is a benefit of incremental development. However, it's a problem. Problems is meaning that it's really ideally that somehow in reality, in fact, it's really difficult. Okay? Because some of the process is interrelated. Okay, interrelated. Contohnya, dia tak boleh stand alone. Satu komponen tu dia kena depends on input from other component. And then dia produce output, and then output tersebut diperlukan oleh input komponen tersebut. Maksud dia berkait lah. Okay. So somehow, some of the process is quite difficult for us to separate because it depends on others' process for the input and so on. So this is the incremental delivery problem. So spiral model, selain daripada waterfall, spiral model is another model. We call it spiral. Okay, what is the history of spiral model? Perkebunan ni adalah daripada Southern California University. Okay, so perkebunan come up with the idea because we have waterfall. Yeah, we have waterfall. Dalam zaman dia lah, dia ada waterfall. Okay, and then they have prototyping. So Dr. Bowen can say that waterfall actually designed for a large system, a complex system, have a very clear cut and distinct. We have a distinct phases and so on. It's quite rigid. Okay. When
Bone spiral model. Process is presented as a spiral rather than as a sequence of activity with backtracking. Each loop in the spiral represents a phase in the process. Fixed phases such as specification or design, loops in the spiral are chosen depending on what is required. These are specifically accessed and resolved
link and so on. It's a prototype. So the other will say, okay, why not we combine these two? That means combine the waterfall together with prototype. Oh, it's a very good idea to combine it. That's why the Kabul suggests a model, they call it spiral model. Okay, spiral model. So when we talk about spiral model here, actually is a combination between the waterfall process and the prototyping concept. Okay, if you look at it, we start with the first quadrant here. First quadrant here is actually for the objective. Identify the objective, identify the alternative, identify the constraints, and so on. Before they start with the first prototype. When the first prototype is actually about the risk analysis. What will be the risk on the system for the first prototype dummy interface and so on? What are the things that is actually to emphasize from the user, client side and so on? What are the things that we can tackle? What are the things that we cannot tackle? What is the constraint of the systems and so on? Before they do some benchmarking or the simulation. Okay? And go for the second round for prototype. Okay? Come out with a requirement with verifications and so on before starting for the development plan. After development plan, they come up with the design and so on. After the design is validated, it goes for the testing and so on. It's actually a spiral. Kalau you tengok daripada innermost dia pusing keluar, dia actually ikut proses of waterfall. At the same time, it's using the concept of prototype theory with the client in order to reduce the risk. Okay, so it's a combination of waterfall and prototype. So this spiral model is an ideal model. Kalau sesiapa boleh buat, very good. However, in reality, it's really difficult. You ask people untuk develop software house berkata, spiral model is an ideal. It's a two ideals model. It's good to have. However, it's quite challenging to follow. Okay, that's actually the common things about the spiral model that I would like to share. Okay, so however, this model is rarely used practical software development. But we have to know it because ini adalah melibatkan sejarah. So the last one that I want to emphasize, the last topic for today, before continuation and 45. Try to finish it before 45 so that you have time to take it. Right. So the last one we call it
UML, the rational unified
rational
process.
unified process.
Modern
Rational
generic
unified
process
process
derived from the
ideas
work on
come
the
in
UML and associate
after
process.
object-oriented
Brings together
programming
aspects of the three
paradigm
generic process model
merged
discussed
in
previously,
our technology.
normally described
Okay.
from three
So dulu
perspectives.
kita ada structure programming. This structures programming we have start with zaman saya lah start with Pascal. Anyone heard of Pascal? Pascal. Pascal. Anyone? Tak pernah dengar Pascal, right? We have Pascal. Then after that, pernah dengar Pascal?
Pernah? Tak dengar je
Pernah
lah.
belajar tak? Pernah je lah. Itu menunjukkan age difference. So waktu kita orang belajar adalah Pascal. Okay, Pascal. So after that, they change it to C. Okay, they change it to C. The programming, this is a programming paradigm. They change it to C. Okay, C is a structure programming. Then they want to actually enhance it. It becomes C++. Okay, they enhance it and becomes C++. However, during the C++, actually it's improved a lot. It's already improved a lot and so on. Depends on the compiler. However, when you deal with C++, there are some common issues. Common issue number one for C++ have some issue about string. String dia ada problems. Okay, kalau melibatkan string dia ataupun array of characters, we have some problems. So, hampir sampai satu tahap, is structure programming about C++ is a time for us to change. Okay, it's a time for us to change. Okay, that's why they have come out with another idea. They have object, meaning that dia buatkan sesuatu adalah object. That's why they ada object-oriented programming. Okay, object-oriented programming. OOP, kita namanya object-oriented programming. So, the first object-oriented programming yang dia orang come out adalah Java. Okay, Java. So, name of Java come out dengan very interesting juga. So, it's a group of developers together. So, they come up with actually a new compiler. Okay, compiler masa tu dia orang tak tahu nama lagi. So, they have at its final stage of it, they have a cup of coffee. What should we name for this newborn compiler? So, development team ada seorang suggest, seems to be all of us love to drink coffee from Java. Okay, Java. So, why don't we name it Java? Java. Kalau you tengok Java punya Java compiler, dia punya icon tu adalah secawan coffee sebenarnya. Secawan coffee. So that is a name. So kita name it, sebagai developer kata dia dah siap. Lepas tu dia kata name it, seems to be we all like to drink coffee from Java. Okay, we call it Java. So that's why we have Java. Bila once object-oriented come in dan sebagainya, so people start developing things by using object-oriented. Okay, bila object-oriented, dia perlukan sesuatu benda tu by object and diagram have to be changed. The design diagram have to be changed and so on. So at that moment, they say that, okay, we have to come up with an idea to represent our design diagram. Okay, so apabila design diagram change, they come to the idea they are using the UML. Okay, UML come into the pictures. Okay, rational unified processes. They emphasize on the UML. UML diagram adalah apabila dibuat dalam object oriented is very useful. Okay, it's a UML diagram. So that's why kita ada UML diagram like use case diagram. Okay, we have use case diagram, we have sequence diagram, we have activity diagram, we have stack diagrams and so on. So this is actually all based on the object-oriented, okay, object-oriented. So that's why beside the waterfall, okay, we have a rational unified process. Let us look at the unified process, okay, rational unified process. So in a rational unified process, we have 4 phases. One is inception, second is elaboration, third is construction, lastly is transition. Okay, when it's called inception is when you try to create the business case. The business case, that means what you want to do with the system, what is the main process of the system, what will be the business flow, business processes, and so on. You have to really understand it. Okay? After you understand it, you have to go through the second part of it is elaboration. Elaboration, you have to develop understanding about the domain of the system architecture. Okay? You have to know the plan, the project plan of it, when you want to deliver, what are the things you want to deliver, and what are the risks during the plan, the phases and so on, before you go for your construction. Constructions is actually for the design, programming, and testing phase. Okay? In the constructions, you come up with all the UML design, the use case diagram, your use case descriptions, your sequence diagram, your activities diagram, your step diagrams, and so on. Okay? And before you deploy it, they call it transition. Okay? So we have in-phase iteration, we have post-phase iteration. Okay? This is another process. Beside from the waterfall, beside from the spiral model. So we have the rational unified process. Okay, unified process. So this is the description step forms about it with the data. Okay, so basically, the good practices is we can develop the software interactively and prioritize for the customers. Okay, and we can manage the requirement, keep track on each customer's requirement with documentation, okay, explicitly, and support for the component-based architecture, okay, also our IoT support for the component-based architecture, right? So I think that's all. Okay, that's all. Any questions so far? Any questions? Any other topic one? Again, I say this is not full versions of the slide. The full version of the slide you can actually download it from UFuture. Okay, any questions?
No, no,
Open your
Doctor.
mic if you want to ask questions. Any questions? We have 2 minutes when we have to end out the section so that you can take a break.
No question right now, Doctor.
Okay, I hope you understand the lecture. So actually, I would like to actually quite simplify the slide so that I can do quite a numbers of topic discussions with you. Okay, so those who have working experience, you boleh share kalau sesuatu benda yang you tapi melibatkan requirement engineering the processes. I want you to share your experience. Okay, you can interact me. During my lecture, it's okay for you to interact me. You just have to open your mic so you can interact me and share your experience. For those who have working experience or any opinion, you can interact me. Tak ada masalah. During my lecture, you just have to open your mic and you just have to notify me. Doctor, I have something to share. Doctor, I have some experience. Doctor, I want to comment something. Just have to actually ada icon rise up juga apa angkat tangannya supaya saya tahu you boleh untuk nak interact me anytime. Okay, so any other questions?
Saja.
Okay. So far okay lah. Okay. I hope you understand. Okay. Hope you understand. follow tak? Boleh. So, try to get the notes. Try to get the notes from the literature. Now inside the literature already upload it. Okay, the skill of work paling penting go through apa assessment yang ada. Okay, assessment yang ada. So buku ni go through